Hey superstar, welcome to How to Start a Business Mastermind Group. Here's a quick overview of what I'm going to cover. I'm going to start with why it's so important to gather the right people to your mastermind. I'm going to talk about how to structure your mastermind group. And finally, I'm going to talk about guidelines for creating community and culture and retaining mastermind members for a long time. First, a quick overview of masterminds. So a mastermind group comes from, originally, the first I ever heard of it, is from the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill himself was not a super rich guy, at least not when he started doing this research on mastermind groups, or not really on mastermind groups, but on how to grow rich. What he did was he interviewed some of the richest men only, of his day. This is back in the 1920s, I think. The Rockefellers, the Carnegies, and the Morgans, and all those people, all those men. And what he found is that they all had certain things in common that they were doing. Now, I'm not going to dive into all the principles, and I highly recommend reading Think and Grow Rich, and it's an amazing book. One of the primary reasons to create a mastermind is that it can provide a place for you to get ideas, learn best practices, share resources, acquire new resources and strategies that you could never get from the internet or on your own. There's no replacement for the wisdom, the earned, lived wisdom and experience of others. It's also a great way if you are delivering value to clients, if you're a coach or consultant, a speaker, an author, it's a great way to take some of the burden off of you so that you don't have to deliver all the wisdom, all the expertise, all the results, and that can come instead from the group. So there are a lot of great reasons to start a mastermind and to participate in masterminds too. Now, one thing to understand about a mastermind is that it only works if people are willing to fully give and be very present. So some of the problems that can happen with masterminds is if everybody comes just to get, but not to give, it doesn't work. So I saw this happen when I joined a mastermind group once, and it was a 2-day mastermind, and it happened 4 times a year. And I remember that on the first day, everybody was there and everybody wanted to go first. And then a lot of people would duck out as soon as the mastermind was over that first day. And then when we came back on that second day, there were like half the people there. So it wasn't quite as valuable for the people that were still there and hadn't gone the first day. So one of the most important things with masterminding is you only want to bring people into your mastermind group who are fully committed to attending the entire time. Now, of course, there are life emergencies and experiences where somebody might not be able to stay one time. But if it's a particular pattern, then that person is not going to be a great fit. So you want to make sure people are fully engaged and committed and know what they're committing to, which leads me to the second thing you want to think about. And that is, what is the structure of the mastermind? Meaning, when is it going to meet? How often is it going to meet? How much time does each person in the mastermind get to present their idea and to receive feedback? The format is going to go a long way toward determining who's willing to meet and how much time they're going to have to take out of their schedule to participate. So this is something you'll want to give a lot of thought to. Now, before I continue, I do want to take an opportunity to ask you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and maybe even post a comment below. Another thing you'll want to think about as you gather the people for the mastermind is, who's the ideal person to have in the mastermind? Now, I've seen all types of masterminds where you've got a varied group of people, and I've also seen masterminds where it's very focused and very niche. And I think it's better to have a focused and niched mastermind. Now, I know there's a benefit in having people from different walks of life and different industries supporting each other, and I've seen that work to some degree. But what I've really seen even better is when people have a shared focus. It not only means that their wisdom is more easily cross-contextual, meaning that what worked over here might work over here when they're in a similar industry or have a similar focus or vision, but also it makes it more likely that people will really believe in what each other are doing and feel bought into each other's visions. Another thing that always comes up as people are thinking about starting mastermind groups is, whether they should charge or not charge, whether it should be a free or paid mastermind, and if it's paid, how much to charge for it. So I'm going to go right out there and say that I'm a big believer in paid masterminds. Even if you're doing this because you just want to have a great mastermind group to be a part of, what I found is that when people pay, they pay attention. And when they don't pay, they have a lot of different things that might pull their time and attention away from the mastermind. So I'm a big believer that people should pay unless you have a reason to believe that they're going to be super duper committed anyways. Another thing to think about is when and how long you're going to meet for. So like I've been a part of many masterminds, and I lead a mastermind. In fact, I've been leading the same paid mastermind for 8 years. And my clients, most of them pay every month. A few of them pay on an annual basis. So I know what it is to have a mastermind that lasts. And by the way, my first few years, I had a lot of turnover. And one of the reasons I had turnover was because of the format of the mastermind, which means that I had a lot of people who were relying on me to organize everything. And one of the things that's really helped the mastermind become more self-sustaining is that I've put some of the responsibility back on the other members. Instead of having it be all me all the time, I've created group chats to help the members share with each other. I've encouraged people to work with each other individually, to meet outside the mastermind, and that has really helped foster a feeling of community instead of it all resting on my shoulders. Now let's talk about how much to charge for a mastermind. Now this might blow you away, but I believe a great mastermind with high-level people should be about $1,000 a month, if not more. Now, I know for some of you, you're like, whoa, that's crazy. Now, I understand, and maybe you need to work up to that, but I think that kind of investment at a high level of business is reasonable. At the very least, you want it to stretch people a little bit so that they are putting their best foot forward and they're showing up. Another thing that I said that I would mention, and I forgot until right now, is to talk about the format, about the time. So I think a great mastermind, people need to be meeting at least 4 times a year. Now that doesn't mean you have to meet in person 4 times a year, but I do like the idea of meeting at least once a year in person. I feel like that in-person connection creates bonds that are much less likely to break, that people are much less likely to want to leave a mastermind if they're at least meeting once a year, if not 2 or 3 times a year. That's how many times we meet in my mastermind. We do a 3 times a year in-person meeting. Now, in between that, I do also recommend having some touch-in calls on a more regular basis. So I have a few different mastermind groups. One of them we meet every single week. Another one we meet every single month on top of once or twice a year. So you want to think about how often people need to meet, what kind of outcomes they need to get, and of course, the price point based on how much effort, how much intensity is involved in the program. If you are looking to create a paid and profitable mastermind group that generates amazing outcomes for you and or for your clients, let's connect. You can find me at superstaractivator.com. And if you go to superstaractivator.com/go, you can find out how to set up a discovery call with me on my calendar. Let's go.